and welcome back to Ruben Uncut. Today, talking about American Psycho. It's a great movie, brilliant satire of Reaganomics, day trading, and masculinity. Yes, those are the things the movie's making fun of. For those that are not familiar with the story. Now you might be like, Ruben, this is an old movie. Why are you talking about this? Well, because the other day I made the mistake of paying attention on the internet, which is never a good idea. Ruins your brain, ruins your day, your attitude, your mental health. This guy knows a thing or two about ruining your mental health. But the point is I discovered something alarming to me, which is that Patrick Bateman, the main character of the movie American Psycho, has somehow become a role model for the Sigma male crowd. Now, when I first discovered Sigma males, I initially had no concern over it. It was like, oh, okay, so it just seemed like alpha male aesthetics for introverts, people who want to feel like a big tough man, but also don't want to see themselves in a leadership position, which is what an alpha male would require of them. You see, in the world of lead, follow, or get out of the way, Sigma is get out of the way. Or at least that was my interpretation when I first discovered Sigma males. From what they were saying, from the memes, you know how it is. But then I discovered their love of Patrick Bateman. And I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but this man should not be your role model. And I'm here to explain to Sigma males why he shouldn't be. And why you're kind of dumb for thinking that he is anything worth being. So, to get you all up to speed, though, we gotta watch some Sigma male shenanigans. This clip I'm about to go over is a clip from the movie that has been edited to be part of the whole Sigma male movement. Let's take a look. Now, I'm gonna be blind reacting to some of these shorts, but I have seen this one before, I think, unless it's just a clip that I clipped on that looked like the clip I previously saw. Take a look.
Is that a gram? New card. What do you think?
The parts that have been the text that have been added to the clip read as follows for those listening on Spotify. Sigma flaunts the success of the grind set to betas with delicately handmade business cards. It's interesting that these gentlemen are being described as betas. There's really only one character in the movie that the movie would probably want you to think of as a beta, but we'll get to that.
Oh, very nice. Look at that.
Picked them up from the printers yesterday.
Betas, impressed as expected.
Good coloring. That's bone. And the lettering is something called Cillian Rail. Let's see Paul Allen's card.
Now, there was an edit there that, unless you've seen the film, you might not notice. Because you see, this is not the whole scene. I'm going to show you the whole scene in a minute. But let's finish out this clip. Sigma simply want to inspect a beta card. Sigma simply wants to inspect a beta card. Which, by the way, not what's happening. That is not why he wants to see Paul Allen's card. Also, this line is going to be undermined almost immediately.
Look at that subtle off-white coloring. The tasteful thickness of it. Oh my.
The added text reads, "Threat to the grind set has been detected." And It's really not even remotely what's happening in this scene.
God, it even has a watermark.
For those on Spotify, it then cuts to the scene where he kills Paul Allen with an axe. Sigma Rule 420, haha. Betas get in the way of the grind set. Slaughter them freely. Hashtag quadrillionaire grind set. Okay, like, honestly, I'm reading this to myself right now, and I'm like, they can't be for real. Sigmas can't possibly believe this. This is a joke, right? Is this making fun of Sigmas? Is this ironic? Is it possible that I am somehow missing the satire of the satire through the satire? Hard to say. But the thing that alarms me is that people who desperately search for identities like being alpha males or sigma males. Side note, it's hard to be an alpha male in a world where everyone's trying to be an alpha male. It's hard to be an alpha when there are no betas to follow you. But let's continue. My concern is that there's a part of me deep down inside that wants to believe this shit is ironic. Like, look at this shit. Encouraging them to murder their rivals. Hashtag quadrillionaire. It's hard to take seriously. Sort of like it's hard to take American Psycho seriously because you're not meant to. I hope to God that this meme was created ironically. And if it was, hats off to you. However, I must pursue this line of reasoning further to make sure that any morons who do not understand it ironically understand it ironically. Like, please, like, when you see something that says slaughter them freely, please understand that that can't be serious. I hope to... It can't be serious. And if it is serious, then this person should be... get help. Here is the unedited version of that scene.
Is that a gram? New card. What do you think?
Whoa, very nice. Look at that.
Picked them up from the printers yesterday.
Good coloring.
That's bone. And the lettering is something called Cillian Rail.
It's very cool, Bateman, but that's nothing. Look at this.
That is really nice.
Eggshell with Romalian type. What do you think?
Nice.
Jesus. That is really super. How'd a nitwit like you get so tasteful?
I can't believe that Bryce prefers Van Patten's card to mine.
But wait. You ain't seen nothing yet. Raised lettering. Pale nimbus. White.
Impressive. Very nice. Let's see Paul Allen's card. Look at that subtle off-white coloring. The tasteful thickness of it. Oh my God. It even has a watermark.
Something wrong? Patrick? You're sweating.
Well, there is something wrong. And that something wrong is that deep inside, the psychopath in him has been brutally humiliated. Because that's what's happening in this scene. This is not some, like, moment of him being some type of Sigma super fiend. He is humiliated. He has failed to gain the highest status by having the best stupid card. the joke of the scene is that all the cards are basically the fucking same, by the way. And only these performative douchebags care. It's interesting that in the original edit also it calls all the other guys at the table betas. However, by the movie's own philosophy, the only beta is the gentleman sitting next to Patrick Bateman now. His character's name is Louis. Patrick Bateman is having an affair with Lewis's fiance. Do you understand how the clip is essentially a lie? If you haven't seen the full, because essentially what's happening in the scene is not what's being described. He doesn't kill Paul Allen, and it's debatable whether or not he does, because Paul Allen is some threat to his quote-unquote grind set, which is a very conformist concept, and one wonders why supposed Sigmas would care about grind set, when typically one would assume that what they would care about would be actually being good at things. He kills Paul Allen because he wants to be Paul Allen. Patrick Bateman wants to be Paul Allen. It's why he does all the wacky shit he does to Paul Allen. Because deep down inside, he wants to be Paul Allen. Because Paul Allen keeps fucking beating him at this shit. So I had to investigate this further, because after watching that video through, like, I desperately wanted to believe that it was ironic. However, the guy's channel looks like this. If you're feeling like a G, then watch my mind-blowing videos. You'll love them. What do we see? Well, it looks like he's also got memes from Peaky Blinders, which is also popular amongst the Sigmas, apparently. I've never watched the show, but I'm pretty confident they've missed the point. Then we have a bunch of how Conor McGregor is Sigma mindset. Sigma male grind set. Yeah. I mean, I want so badly to believe that this page is a joke. So badly want this to be some type of elaborate. It could be. It could be. It just. If it is, he's committed to the bit, to make his whole channel this type of absurd content. There's more Patrick Bateman to take in.
And, Cecilia, how is she? Where is she tonight?
Cecilia's, well, you know Cecilia. I think she's having dinner with, Evelyn Williams.
Evelyn. Great ass. Goes out with that loser Patrick Bateman. What a dork.
Another martini, Paul.
And, Cecilia.
I don't even know what they're doing here. They talked about her ass. It's the scene where he thinks. See, okay, so in the movie, Paul Allen believes, has mixed up two other people who work at the firm. One of whom is Patrick Bateman, the main character of this story, and the other is some other guy whose name escapes me now because he's the guy with the glasses. He's the other guy with glasses who sat across from Patrick in the previous clip. But the point is that
real quick fact check here. I was confused. The guy with the glasses is in fact not the guy he's been confused with. That guy's name is Van Patten. Realized that during the edit. Turns out there's some other guy in his office that kind of looks like him that people have mistaken him for, who is even less memorable because I legitimately thought it was that one guy.
Paul Allen, for whatever reason, has confused these two guys. And now a normal person, a normal human being, would have informed him to preserve their own sense of self, if nothing else, that they are in fact not Paul Allen. I mean, sorry, whatever the other guy's name is. That they are in fact Patrick Bateman. However, because Patrick Bateman is a psychopath who doesn't have that same sense of self, he doesn't correct it. In fact, uses it at numerous points to create confusion.
I tried Patrick Bateman's morning routine every day for 1 week to see if it would make me more attractive. First thing in the morning, he puts on a face ice pack to get rid of puffiness around his eyes. But I'm going to upgrade this by icing my whole face to reduce inflammation and help get rid of acne. Then Patrick Bateman does 1,000 stomach crunches, which is an insane amount to do directly after waking up. After he does his stretching routine, then takes a shower, and does his skincare routine. After doing this every day for a week, my acne was gone. I tried Patrick Bateman's morning routine.
Okay. Look, a couple things that need to be pointed out here. First of all, we need to talk about why Patrick Bateman does this. And second of all, in the movie, his exact line is, "I'm up to 1,000." So it's he actually has been expanding his routine as time goes on. But why does Patrick Bateman do this? Well, Patrick Bateman does this to fit in. Patrick Bateman, like, part of his thing is the beauty mask. And, like, when we see him taking it off in the movie, it's a double thing. Because you have to understand, what all you Sigmas need to understand here is that Patrick Bateman is mentally ill. Now, I'm not saying that to be judgmental. I'm mentally ill. But Patrick Bateman is a very different kind of mentally ill. He is potentially a psychopath. He is potentially a sociopath. It's never completely established. But also, the film is about him careening towards a psychotic break where he loses touch with reality. Now, the reason he does this beauty routine is to fit in. Is because he understands that fitting in is easier when you are good-looking and wealthy and successful. The idea of caring about Patrick Bateman's grind set is actually stupid because Patrick Bateman doesn't give a shit about his job. Patrick Bateman values his job as a cover for fitting in. His actual grind set is his homicidal fantasies. His desires to manipulate and control people and murder them. These are the things Patrick Bateman's grind set is actually about. It's not about being a fucking day trader. He's a day trader because it gives him lots of money and his dad owns the company. So they stated in the movie, his dad owns the company where he is a vice president of acquisitions and mergers. But that isn't really what he wants. That's just cover. What he's doing is something called masking. In fact, we're seeing the literal translation of this as he takes off the beauty mask. Because in the opening monologue, he tells us that there is no one behind his eyes. Patrick Bateman spends all of his time basically at his job trying to fucking around on his fiance. He tries to find someone to have sex with every night because he has no interests. He has no real dreams other than homicidal fantasies. All he does is listen to music and read and watch pornography. Because all he cares about is sensory pleasure. Because he can't foster real connections with other human beings. Human beings are just something he uses to masturbate. Both in a literal and non-literal sense of the term masturbate. This routine represents his dedication to hiding the fact that he is not normal. I don't ever want to see you and I never want to meet you again. One thing, when you're angry, you're a jerk and then you treat me like I'm nothing. Okay, I don't even know where to start with the profound irony of the fact that there are people out here trying to make videos where they teach you how to look like Patrick Bateman makes faces in this movie, because, like, I can't think of a better example of someone missing the joke. Patrick Bateman's faces are like that because they're not real. They're pre-rehearsed facial expressions. He is literally, they look that way because he's trying to fit in with normal humans. That's the point. That's why his facial expressions are all exaggerated throughout the film. It's because he's really just imitating faces he's seen other people make, and he does not have an actual emotional commitment to the face that he's making. So this is hilarious. Like, this video is hilariously weird. Like, wow.
Give me one instance. Give me the name of the movie or an actor you're working with.
I could give you so many, but all right, the one that immediately comes to mind is American Psycho. It's a funny movie if you're a sick bastard like I am.
If you're a psycho. Give me one.
Okay, that edit is also stupid. Here's a fun fact about how Christian Bale got the part. A lot of people did not want to make this movie. A lot of people would read the script and they'd be like, "My God." He got the part because he was the first person to walk into the audition that understood it was a comedy. That's how he got the part. He understood it was a satire of these things, not meant to be taken seriously.
Would you kiss me for $1?
No.
Would you kiss me for $1?
No.
Would you kiss me for $1?
No.
Would you kiss me for $1?
Absolutely not.
What kind of super drugs are we talking?
Like Coca-Cola Zero.
Coca-Cola Zero. Sarah's got Coca-Cola Zero.
Yeah.
My head's a bit scrambled.
Probably Annabelle.
Annabelle.
That is my real name.
Oh, yeah.
I think I might leave if you say like Sarah one more time, to be honest.
I'm sorry, Sarah.
Now, if you're starting to see a theme in this Sigma male compilation, yes, that theme is anger at women.
Hey, babe. Okay, so rock, paper, scissors, shoe. And if you win, you get a kiss me. Are you ready? You're good?
I go.
I'm ignoring you. I said I'm ignoring you. Stop ignoring me! Ignoring
Yeah, that's all that I need to see. Okay. Now, if you may have noticed, there was a lot of sort of resentment at women in that last compilation because this really seems to be a big thing with the Sigma male community. So what I'm getting from the thing is that the Sigma male community seems to want to put forward the idea that being a dick to women is somehow empowering to you as a man. Sure, in the same way that being a dick to anyone is empowering. It is empowering, but you know, it's empowering yourself through the taking away the power for someone else, which it's a dick move. Dick move. Also, a lot of those clips were clearly staged. I'm sorry. Who seems to be filming the girl going around offering people $1 to kiss her? Oh, it appears to be her. She is the one doing the filming. And she puts the video up. Who would like to bet that she knows all of those men and they all agreed to turn her down before the recording? Wouldn't be surprised. In fact, some of those videos definitely staged. Like, definitely. And so, like, this is the thing about American Psycho. So, for those of you who have not seen the film, I will finally tell you what this movie is about. American Psycho follows day trader Patrick Bateman. It's the 1980s. He's all about making money, banging women, doing coke, and pop music. And all of that, though, is just a cover for the fact that deep down inside, he views human beings as objects, and he'd really like to kill them. A lot. See, that's the thing about Patrick Bateman, is that's who he is as a character. Now, the thing is that Patrick Bateman is also not the confident super genius that everyone seems to think he is. I took a number of notes while I was rewatching the film. So some things to touch on about his character. He has no beliefs, no interests. He is a blank slate of a human being. If you find that relatable, get help. That's not cool. There's a difference between being stoic and being fake. He's fake. And a scene early in the movie where he's gathered around with his fiance and the woman he's cheating on her with and her fiance. There's a discussion of like ethics and politics, and there's a moment where he shuts down one of his friends being anti-Semitic, and then proceeds to go on a little tangent about how like we should all be working together to make the world a better place, which he also at the same time lines up with a return to traditional values. Why? Because he is merely picking the most popular political views of the time and mixing them together so that he can cover a spectrum of opinions and broad appeal, because he is fake. You also understand that he's also deeply insecure. He is the mask he chooses to put on is one of extreme masculinity. And this is a big thing that the film is sort of playing around with, is his performative masculinity, because his masculinity is performative. He really is a blank slate. He is choosing to embrace these types of masculine actions because they help him blend into society. He is also deeply insecure about it. That's why he hates Paul Allen. Paul Allen is everything he is trying to look like. And that drives him crazy. There's also some arguments about what's going on with him sexually. I mean, it's clear that he has a lot of violent sexual fantasies towards women, but at the same time, he seems to view women as mostly masturbatory tools. There is an argument made for the fact that he might be homosexual, due to the fact that it is very clear, especially after he kills Paul Allen, that he wants to be Paul Allen. Now, you can say, oh, it's part of his super genius plan to pretend to be Paul Allen so that people can continue to think that Paul Allen is alive. Except that that's fucking stupid. Returning repeatedly to an apartment building that he shouldn't be in and leaving his DNA all over it, not wearing gloves the entire time. Like, why would Patrick Bateman's fingerprints be in this apartment in a logical, rationally, easily explainable way? They wouldn't be. He's just really bad at crime because he's not actually that smart. Throughout the film, while it seems like he's being very meticulous, he's actually pretty clumsy and easily rattled by authority or pressure. He does not know how to respond to the police. If you pay attention to the scene where he sits down with Willem Dafoe's character and they're both eating, he puts an ungodly amount of salt on his steak. Why? Because he's freaking the fuck out. He is masking how freaked out he is. And he is immensely relieved when he finds out that the real reason the police detective is meeting with him is to confirm that this other guy's alibi is screwy. He is not the suave super criminal he appears to be. He is also kind of a hypocrite. At numerous points, he represents what are 80s values. He's throwing 80s values at people with no potential real connection to them. Like the scene where he stabs the homeless man, provided anything in that scene actually happened. He talks to the homeless man about how the homeless man's problem is that he doesn't have a positive attitude, which is ironic because he's not capable of having an attitude. His attitude is neither positive nor negative, it is manipulative. Oh, also, throughout the film, there's a lot of mineral water. Like, when I noticed how much mineral water is in the movie, like, I assumed that the movie was doing it, it was all about, like, to imply that, like, glitzy, like, day trader lifestyle. But, like, I think about that now, and I'm like, is this the movie Andrew Tate based his worldviews on? Did this movie influence Andrew Tate? A movie about manipulating people, violence towards women, and drinking mineral water? It seems like too many coincidences. Throughout this crime committing, like I said, he's actually kind of dumb. He takes off the raincoat before he washes the blood off his face. I don't know if you know this about blood, but it'd be pretty easy to transfer any of Paul Allen's blood from, like, to any of his clothes or anything in his apartment. And yet, he takes the raincoat off after killing Paul Allen, sits down, and starts smoking. Even though he's not out of the woods yet. Now, the one thing about it is that he actually has very low emotional control for a psychopath. Psychopaths typically have very high levels of emotional control because they're not really feeling many emotions. This would put him closer to a sociopath. Sociopaths normally gain their psychopathy through some type of trauma, but that's never really implied in the movie that he has trauma. He comes from a rich family, and he probably did not have a lot of problems growing up. But he does lack the emotional control normally associated with psychopathy. He's actually quite emotionally unstable, and almost strangles that Louis guy in a fucking men's dressing room. Fortunately, Louis just thinks that he's gay for him, which he may or may not. But Louis has no idea that by turning around at that moment and assuming that his hands on the back of your neck were sexual, saved your life. This isn't really important, but I do think it's interesting that his character is willing to look racist to throw the police off the trail. He also isn't actually good at reading people, which is sort of interesting and kind of important. At one point, we see a scene between him and his mistress, who is desperately trying to connect with him. She has started to piece together that he's never going to leave his fiancée for her, allowing her to escape her fiancé. The scene goes on, and she's given out some pretty big red flags. It's pretty clear that she is on the edge of this relationship not mattering to her anymore. And he can't tell. He can't pick up any of her signals. He does not understand the red flags of emotional distress that she is putting out. He seems completely unaware and indifferent at the same time, because one would assume he would want to maintain this level of free sex, and yet he shies away from it, seemingly unaware that she is probably never going to speak to him again. There's a scene where we find him doing crosswords. This scene, he has merely written words like kill and bones into the crossword sections, words that have meaning to him. But you see, here's the thing. You can't fill out a crossword puzzle when you don't actually know anything or have any interests. Sure, he went to Harvard, but it doesn't really at any point seem like he actually learned anything from Harvard other than how to fit in with rich douchebags. Now, the pivotal moment of the film is where he lures Paul Allen to his apartment and kills him with an axe. This nice shiny one over here. Now, this is one of the most pivotal moments of the film. And you may have noticed that I've cast some level of doubt on the events of what takes place in that sequence. And that's because, like I said, the entire film is about a man spiraling towards a psychotic break. Now, I haven't read the book, but it's been made clear to me that in the book, it's pretty clear that he is hallucinating a lot. Various moments in the book are full of things like turning on television, seeing Oprah interview a Cheerio. It's very clear that he is hallucinating. But the film is much subtler about it. Don't get me wrong, he is definitely hallucinating at some moments. Now, the question is, did he kill Paul Allen? And the film leaves this open-ended, allowing you to theorize a number of outcomes, one of which is he did kill Paul Allen, or he just imagined he killed Paul Allen when Paul Allen went out of town. Now, in my theory, my personal theory on the movie is that Paul Allen is the only person that he kills. I guess there's some debate about the homeless people we could make, but I genuinely do think that Paul Allen is the only person he murders in the film. Now, why would I say that? Well, actually, there's a couple reasons. One of which is this. He did have a plan to lure out Paul Allen. He did at some point remove some type of body-like thing from his apartment where he was witnessed by beta male Louis. Louis? I want to say it's Louis, but I honestly don't know. Bringing the body out of his apartment in a to-go bag, in a go bag. Some type of gym bag, duffel bag or something. I don't remember. Point is that murder, I believe, did take place. The other reason is because he does, it's confirmed, have the keys to Paul Allen's apartment. And the film doesn't really show us any other ways he would have gotten these keys. That being said, I do believe that the rest of the murders aren't real. Allow me to go over why. Well, first of all, let's talk about the murders. You see, the truth of the matter is that he is slowly having his psychotic break is accelerating now that he has actually killed someone. Because now his brain has all types of panic going on. How are we going to get away with this? What's the next move going to be? Now, being a loser and kind of an idiot, he doesn't actually make a lot of great choices. For starters, he keeps on thinking he's murdering people. He apparently goes to Paul Allen's apartment at least a couple times, whether it's just to remove the bags or whatnot. Did he actually bring a prostitute and that one woman he knew to Paul Allen's apartment to have sex with them? Maybe. Did he kill them? Almost definitely not. For starters, the one woman clearly knew him. He would have had a connection to her too questionable to actually get away with murdering her. He'd already killed one too many people that he knew, that being Paul Allen. However, the big thing is that the murder sequence itself is definitely not real. The murder sequence begins with him appearing to begin by going down on the one woman, only to apparently do something brutal and violent to allow him to come out with his face covered in blood. Which is also weird because her body is then found in the bathroom much too close together. The other thing is that the prostitute who tries to escape at this moment then runs throughout the apartment, finding more and more dead bodies and body parts, including opening a room and finding a bunch of massacred bodies. Written blood on the wall, it says, "Die, yuppie scum." And then she escapes, and he drops a chainsaw on her, which, by the way, is there a button to make it so that you don't have to hold down the trigger on a chainsaw to keep it chainsawing? Because I'm actually not sure how he got it to keep maybe I'm just working with cheap chainsaws in my life. But there's like a button for that, right? That keeps the blade going even when you're not holding the button, because otherwise, he would have dropped the chainsaw and it just would have stopped. However, the next sequence we see immediately after this is him drawing the chainsaw murder on the tablecloth before he breaks up with his fiance. Why is he writing it on the tablecloth? Because it wasn't real. It was a fantasy. His mind was engaging in this fantasy to distract himself from the fact that he was about to have a socially uncomfortable interaction with another human being, something that he would normally hate to do. So his mind made up that fantasy, possibly based on the events of banging that hooker the night before. So I assure you, in my mind, none of that's real. Well, at least none of the murder is real. Also, the dead bodies in the apartment, definitely not real. What do I mean by definitely not real? Well, you see, he then later shows up to try and do more things at Paul Allen's house, only to find that Paul Allen's apartment is now being shown by the realtor. And the rooms that he thought were full of dead bodies have all been painted over. Now, obviously, if he had actually killed anyone and there had actually been bodies in this apartment, the place would have been a crime scene. The police would have been there, and there would have been a lot more suspicion on him, because his DNA and fingerprints would have been all over the fucking place. Now, a person might interpret this as, he got a lucky break, and they just got rid of the bodies and covered it all up for him. No, the bodies were never real. The bodies were never real. This was a hallucination. The film, of course, spins down to its penultimate scene of Patrick Bateman's shooting spree as he runs through the streets. Now, the thing is that everything in this sequence is 100% a hallucination. Definitely not real. But Ruben, how do you know that? Because the scene starts with an ATM asking him to feed it a cat. And then he magically has a gun he's never had at any other point in the film, a gun he never has to reload. He tries to use the gun to shove the cat into the ATM, and as he does, an old woman comes up, sees what he's doing, he panics, shoots her dead. Police car swings around, sees him shoot the old woman dead. Next thing you know, he's running through the cops through the streets. He stops using a handgun, shoots at the police enough times for their car to explode. Makes his way to his own business building, to the business building where he works, runs in one door, sees the security guard. Security goes, burn the midnight oil, just make sure you check in. Panics, shoots that guy, runs out of the building, and what is either back in around the building or runs out of the building and then runs into a different entrance to the building, sees the security guard, signs in, gets in the elevator, goes upstairs. There are helicopters circling the building as he is on the phone, confessing to every crime, and some we saw and some we didn't see, on his lawyer's answering machine. Now, I've also left out a very important scene that I'm going to mention here before I talk about the final scene. Now, this other important scene is an incident where he, for some reason, decides he's going to take his secretary out. And I mean that in both senses of the word. He arranges to have a date with her at a place where he knows he can't get a reservation, which is probably why he decides to kill her, because she made the mistake of asking for that place where it's really hard to get a reservation. They then go to his apartment, realizing he couldn't get a reservation. He's going to have to kill her now in his apartment, and he prepares to do so with a nail gun. However, during this sequence, his fiancée calls, because this is before he breaks up with her. And his fiancée makes it very clear that she's his fiancée. And in this moment, he backs away from killing his secretary because he has been emasculated by the truth. He is in a moment of shock. He is lies have been, someone has actually had a moment, an opportunity to see through his lies, his carefully constructed lies. At which point, he proceeds to be honest with her. Not fully honest, but honest for him, telling her that if she doesn't leave, he'll hurt her. Now, she, of course, responds to this in the way you would if you assume that someone meant emotionally, that the relationship would be unhealthy for you and they think you should go. Of course, we know he means murder. In the final scene of American Psycho, or maybe it's penultimate, I can't remember if there's anything small after it, but in the final scene, he goes to the local watering hole that everyone from their association goes to on their lunch break, I assume. Checks in with his boys, and then goes and talks to his lawyer. At which point, the lawyer thinks that his call was a joke, a hilarious prank played on that loser, Patrick Bateman, not realizing that this guy is Patrick Bateman. Side note, you'd think people would care more about who Patrick Bateman is, considering his father owns the company. Just a thought. But the lawyer does not believe him. And having confessed as much as he possibly could, only to have the lawyer be like, no, man, I had lunch with Paul Allen in London twice 2 weeks ago, or whatever it is that he says. I didn't write down exactly when he had lunch with Paul Allen. Patrick Bateman returns to his boys. He sits down. At which point, one of the gentleman who had been anti-Semitic earlier, I believe, looks up at the screen where Ronald Reagan is talking about the Iran-Contra scandal. At which point, he has a small amount of dialogue to suggest to us, the audience, that Ronald Reagan is like Patrick Bateman. That Ronald Reagan is a psychopath. Shortly after this, Patrick Bateman has almost seems giddy. He is laughing hysterically. He is having a genuine emotional reaction beyond anger, the only emotion he seems to feel. Anger and insecurity. Because he is kind of a bitch, by the way. He's real Sigma, guys. He's kind of actually a bitch. He's bad at crime. And he hallucinates all his major achievements. Yeah, he's a real Sigma guy. But he has that emotional reaction of laughing because now he realizes that he is losing touch with reality and that one of two things has happened. Either he has killed Paul Allen and gotten away with it, which is a win, or none of it was real. And if none of it was real, then he's fine. So in his mind, he is now out of the clear. Except that before meeting up with the boys, he made a very panicked call to his secretary where he sounded unhinged and emotional, which prompted her to go into his office, possibly suspecting drug abuse, and look in his drawers and find his journal. A journal that lists all the people that he thinks he killed, but also nothing but a series of gratuitous, horrifying sketches of women being raped, mutilated, and abused. In a movie where no one sees through his facade, it ends with a woman seeing through his facade, seeing through the fake outer shell of fake masculinity into the deep, dark recesses of his misogynistic lust. There you have it. Patrick Bateman, look, I'm not going to tell the Sigma community what is or isn't a Sigma. But if your suggestion is that Patrick Bateman is someone that anyone should seek to emulate or thinks that there are good lessons to learn from, then I am deeply sorry that you have no media literacy and that you have been tricked into believing that this movie that is making fun of this character is somehow a lesson on his strengths in society, which is not what the film is about. The film is a joke. The film is an incredibly dark satire of 80s economics, of Reaganomics, the 80s, and toxic masculinity. It is a satire of all these things. Patrick Bateman is not meant to be taken seriously. He is someone who was born with the wrong brain chemistry. He's not a successful serial killer. He's a man having a psychotic break. It is easier for me to pity this man than it is for me to think that he is a role model. And pity is the most positive emotion I can have for Patrick Bateman. I mean, sure, he's interesting. It's a great story. It's a brilliant satire of the things it's satirizing. But if you don't understand that we're supposed to be laughing at Patrick Bateman, then this is probably not a movie you should be watching. Because I assure you, if you start to base yourself off of Patrick Bateman, the joke will be on you. Thank you for tuning in to Ruben Uncut. If you are watching this on Spotify, please like, subscribe, maybe ding that bell so you know when these videos are coming out. And if you're listening to this on Spotify or watching it on Spotify, they do have video there now. Please make sure that you follow me on Spotify. If you would like to contact the program, you can email me at rubenuncut@gmail.com. Thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful whatever, wherever, whoever you are.